Dala Nindara Namda Rabsalawe Chinye Dungun Chishin Sichire Nige Tukara Lebam Zine Kanda Sebe Chandra Mare Muntumandung Alain Kisire Zhōnsōng gōng lai bùjī tārā zē yān lai zhō chū yāng tēn sōng zhō tārā chē rē zhō nyūn mō nīn lōng lē jē chāng zhō zhō zē chīng mā rē mōn sē lē tō ngā lai nyū gō e chī nyē chū zē rāl jī nam Dēne dājīn sāñchū thāra sūne yuandēn lū zōi gyāla sēn tū yu gu chū chū dāñ chū nī gēn zhē dā lū mūn sē lē jāmbē yāng lā dū Om Arabazana Deo Marabazana 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 O Marabazana di 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 Zenden jeje kin rabo sere je dal timon mimba ra salane kadan tenju shunglu to pa yi lo zhe po be nan wa zalando solo kang ce da waran de bam chung se zhi waran de na yang Gombo jamyan chenye ne kekme payan tong waray sho. Ningje chenpo zude ningme shin, zongne me lang chenpo ngabja da, pekara darang cendo chermen do, tenpa tukje chenla changza lo. Ujen song rong penme tongbo le, gyalwe namdru rangshin lunje jo, cenzo peje yuanden chongparwa. Pema jungne dalu pe solo e jong, lu zhop tome arya dewa dang, yin cholang chuge zhabe shabu, yuan de yue dang shang je yue la so, gen zhu chong yin nam la solwa dep. Ma yu senge kange re pe men, sidri long ne chang zing kun se jang, jang pe pa gyur tu ziri kun nyen pa, rong sum chuge sambo gyal gyur che. Kangri thogal rinche nyingbe gulo yunden kunjung ga yu ye salo do nyingbe dendo bebe na juru pa longchen rajam shabla solwa de rikdong jambal shune chilam le kongbe long ne po be terje dot longdo chuzwe jangso nga wang juro me pam jam yang nam jan la solwa de be o min cheji inge po rang ne dusum sangje kunje ngo ni rangsim chokrong sum ton ze ba zawe la min shabla solwa de 대양 조반 남기 타다냠베 semje 탐제 동아리 균데 녀단 달데 톱자 란나메 바 양다 바라 조베 상제제 고방은 보체라 고바라 지고 대체도 담배초 대년 선진 출신도 냠수랑 와라 지고 냠베 삼바 장주 초도 토게바 림보체 살다베고네 sembar 간 sembar 자위 추게 림바네 케비 출라 주고 고시 자위 땡죽 대년 엠바레 딜라양 Kepara chawi ne chu chuki tomshi soso yang tabre rikpa shi goni yoba le tene tangbo kepara chawi ne chu dela yang pung kam keche ne sum shu chumne ne shiba tendil ye kabla yin dela ka shi shu se ne kasang ge chweni mala shu na.
At the beginning of class, please give rise to bodhicitta, thinking, may all sentient beings, who are as numerous as the sky is vast, be free of suffering and the causes for suffering. And may I be able to establish all these sentient beings at the level of perfect and complete awakening, the level of a perfect Buddha, the ultimate result. And in order to do so, may I now study and then put the teachings correctly into practice. With that kind of motivation, please listen to the teachings. The text that we're studying is The Gateway to Knowledge. The treatise entitled The Gate for Entering the Way of a Pandita by Mibam Rinpoche. And the text is divided into 3 main parts. First are the 10 topics of expertise, then the 4 seals of Dharma, and then the 4-fold correct discrimination. We're currently discussing the 10 topics of expertise, and we have already completed the first 3, the aggregates, the elements, and the sense sources, and are currently discussing the 4th topic, which is dependent origination. And in today's class, we will continue from where we have left off yesterday, as we have already covered a number of verses in this chapter.
Dene de tiwa de do tiwa thambo tendel yena tongba ni de rikpe ha ko ne ngosum tongya la di pingi diwes 다 덴들게 된데게 안에 란신 마도바 동바 니게 된 송교래 다 되게 당보 가르서나 디 덴들림바 망어도 추 탐제 덴들림바 하고게 말아 추 탐제 란신 예 두두다도 중에 단다 덴들게 깨져 시행데 갈라 당보 덴들게 고와 된조 내용데 갑라테니 추 탐제 란신 마도바 지 유연 제제 덴네 두바레도 삼베 덴데스 하고나 디 덴들데 당보 퇴비군에 하고와스 디베샤샤나 지제 리모티 샤교게 다와타오 아니 도다디 하고와디 칸라데니 삼로 양양 망보 땅 데네 삼로 양양 망보 땅송나 데니 추낭란 다외 송년다오 다 차게 요레스 딜라 양 갈레 덴들기 된덴돌아 연결 토삼 검수 망보 지톱나 되니 남카기 다왕문에 통하는 신기치네 덴데 드에 요레스네 리무트비 다와 추는게 다와 반능게 다왕문에 저 어된저 탐제양 자와디 담봉이라 덴들기 된델 롭중치 덴조기 된라 삼로 망보 땅 디에 삼로 델라양 되니 곰 토삼 검숨 가져 툭툭 되네 야게 땅네 도나 어딘데 신네 림바 레베 요레스네 숨기도와 아티엔도 갈라다디 펜톡이레스 펜톡이레스 다디기 펜톡에게다 고당보 가르스나 고축에 다랑제 덴들게 되는 롭종치 토삼 검섬 제네 드로네 되네 되게 동반이장 다음에 된데 하고에 디랑게 내가 디랑게 고축도기레스 디랑레스.
We had a couple of questions yesterday, and the first one is with regard to dependent origination. We said that understanding dependent origination lets us understand that things are empty of a true nature, that phenomena are all empty of an inherent existence. And so the question is then whether this intellectual understanding based on the logic of interdependence that we have seen, whether that helps us to realize suchness, to realize emptiness directly. So does the intellectual understanding of dependent origination benefit us in order to gain direct realization? And yes, it does. It's a gradual process. Usually we grasp to things to be existent in the way that they appear, that they have, we think that they have their own nature, their own inherent nature. And so the first step is then to learn to gain some understanding of the fact that phenomena are not established in that way. So understanding dependent origination as it is described in terms of causes and conditions, giving rise to results, that all effects are based on or are caused by causes and conditions. So first, we need to learn about that and understand it intellectually. And that's then the understanding that we gain from listening, from learning. And the example that is given for the understanding is it's like seeing the meaning of dependent origination in the same way that we see a painting of the moon. So if there's someone painted a moon on a wall and we see that, that's the likeness of the moon as we gain the similar to the intellectual understanding that we gain through listening. And then we continue with to think about that again and again. We contemplate what we have studied, what we have understood through studying over and over again. And our understanding becomes finer and finer and more alike to the actual meaning of dependent origination. So then our understanding and the way that we perceive dependent origination becomes similar to the way that we perceive reflection of the moon and water. And if we then continue by meditating on that understanding, really taking it into our being, really, so many airplanes today, when we really internalize it through meditation, through cultivation, then eventually we will come to the level of understanding, of knowledge of dependent origination that is a direct perception of it, a direct experience of it, and that is then likened to actually perceiving the moon in the sky. So not through a picture of it, not through a reflection in water, but to have the actual experience of seeing the moon in the sky. And so it's a gradual process that we're going through, and the intellectual understanding based on logical reasoning is the first stage. So the understanding we gain is definitely beneficial, and it's part of the process to eventually gain direct realization of the meaning of dependent origination, and with that, emptiness.
제 동알 그 시갑란 고당보 민신인 고추 용기도 다 민신인 고추 용디 갑del라데네 나랑 저기 다 수부대 수부디 주비에 수부디 줍사위 젤라데네 갈레갈레 초르와 렉바 스네데네 초르와 렉바 데네 계체 주 왕보 된도 탐제 용디 갑데데네 동알 탐제 용액이 시데네 차 용거레스 다양 디냠도라 남시에 대한 요래 단다디 지 동알 남라 직 남시에 대한 요래와 남시에 민숙님 말을 조기로와 원데네 데네 다 동알 용액이 제도라 데네 조다 대둑 용액이 초로와 라소바 아니 대둑 된조 이제 왕 계체 쪽 라소바 된데선 참제 좀네 데네 동알 용교레스
The next question was done with regard to the links that are the basis for suffering, which in paragraph 4.22 was described as the 7 links such as name and form. And so here we speak about the different links that are the basis for suffering after the body has been developed, and that also includes consciousness. So once body and mind, or the four aspects of mind are present, so when the 5 aggregates are established as with the body, and then the following the following wait. And then the following branches, the following links occur. So also the six sense sources, contact, sensation, craving, and so on. And then that constitutes as the basis for suffering. So it's when the body is established in terms of a being established based on name and form, and that then also includes the presence of consciousness, then that is the basis for the experience, for the arising of sensations that are pleasurable or painful.
네. 다 디와치들라 덴들 땀 마릭바 고당보 제 최탐적이 랑신들라 몽위차 아니 몽비차데 마릭바데레데 마릭바데 요송나 데네 덴들 주니도 바르마치와 데네 종교레스 아니 조데다 마릭바데레 따디 레레 가나 탐제 각투기레스나 레레 가나 탐제다 레레 가나 탐제 각스디 갈라다 이제 이 코로나라다 마리바스나 간데 임바 아니 디텐들 주니 되게 된다 간데 시어바 다가 낭신 진이 디직 각나 아니 직 가나 탐제 각 투기래
The
개와 도지 매송나 가도나야 게메게 된데 똑톱나 개와 미비 된 똑톱나 아니 네 가도나 텐데 랩톱이 말에 다나신 초로와 디나라 초로와스네 계제데 간데지를 라비에라 봐 어디 공 이제 시샤치네 되게 초로와데 랑신 마두바니도 똑톱나 되네 심바든 중투기 말에 나 툭사 쪼데다 마리발라 툭대라 쪼데 단다디 탐제 중사데 디치네 단디 가나데 탐제 가게레스는 수마레도.
So the next question is then with regard to the 12 links of interdependent origination. We said that ignorance is this aspect of delusion. And we said that if there's no ignorance, then the following links will not occur. So the question is about interrupting the cycle of the 12 links, whether that is necessarily to be done through ignorance, or whether one can also interrupt the cycle of the 12 links in the context of other branches. And whenever one of the links is stops to exist, then the next one will not occur, and so the cycle of those will be interrupted. And the way that we can understand that is, of course, that the basic one is ignorance. The basic most prominent factor is ignorance, and when there is no ignorance, then we can easily understand how the others do not unfold. But really, there's an opportunity to gain correct the correct realization of each of the links, which will then lead to freedom from that cycle. So also, when we look at the link of birth, for example, or of rebirth, if we understand correctly that there is no true arising, there's no true coming into being or rebirth, then that will interrupt the cycle of the 12 links. If we truly realize that there is no inherently existing sensation, then that will, or craving, which was the example that was given in the question, then that can lead to the liberation of the 12 links. But because it's the fundamental underlying problem throughout all of these links is ignorance of the way that these really are compared to the way that they appear, then the emphasis in the explanation is on eliminating ignorance. But yeah, when each of the links is realized for its true nature, then that leads to the interruption of the cycle of the 12 links.
네, 가상 되게 참네 말하시나 대다르 땐들 양라 주니 보네 마리바 마방기 바르도 균기 주대세 자와데다 마리발라 투응데 가다 마리바게 지 독초대 되네 다음에 비 된대 땐들기 된대 통고교래 시에고교래 디 마시네 되네 마리비 왕돌라 jorna 데 마리바데 마방기 바르도라 네 마리바네 림바신도 땐들 심바된도 중니 양니 코르발라 주고교래스 균기 주대스 디안 펜나 양데 단다 땐들 데 펜나 마리바데 요나 아네 두제여나 남시 신데네스네다 균로지 지단게 딜라여나 디여 펜나 디 중알라 데니 디 중스나 어디 시샤도 지네 송아라와 양 도동양 문제 뒤기 그 마릭바당 두제기네스 다 문제 뒤기스는 아주 깨왕엄하게 단단 안조 뺐나 단다 깨와 디데 깨왕엄하게 마릭바 깨왕엄마 추기 된 내룩데 덴들림바 하고 마투와 디기 몽웨 왕둘라 송네 몽와 대당 마릭바당 두제게스 두제 안티류 갑텔라 미 율라케게 레 사파 그와 레케 미게 라소바 덴데 두제게스 티 두제게 땐네 문제레게 다다 팡제게 남셰세 단다데 남셰들랑 아주 이제 팡제 남셰 당 팡제스네요와 단다데라 팡제레 디우레 단다 남셰데 단다 셈데다 디우레 강기 팡레스는 깨왕무마기 단다데 깨와딜라 네 팡예게 남셰죠라 딘데지 다 깨왕무마 데 유마릭바다 누제라 땐네스 깨왕무마 지라 깨와직 세직 아니 다다 깨와디 세니바 깨와니바라와 다다의 팡제기 남셰네 되네 뇨몽바 단다디 남라 뇨몽바 인게 세바다 렘바니요바 텐데 주니는 텐저당 니 양시 주제게 레사 시비 바르돌라 아니 중라스네 시비 바르도 중라스네 게 담바 중레스 남셰 민수 게체 소르와 세파 렘바 시파 텐데기 바르돌라 테네 양 주제게 레삭베 시비 바르돌라 중라스 단다 깨와딜라로와 parla ani di chela le de le lemi ches le dang tumbar rene 강도 깨와 렌징 디게 가리송나 체숨나 조당라고 제게제 랍낭게도와 나랑 저기 깨왕엄마 유 마릭바다 누젤라 땐네 깨와 딜라 단다 남셰네 아야 마게 시바센 텐델 주니나 시바 온디 바돌라지 게 담바요 디 바돌라 중화레스 다 단다 두루레 덴데 사발라 땐네 깨와 치마게 양 델레 리미체 레당 툼바 랑게 레 강강 사나 대당 툼바 저비고네 네리 도아리도 강도 깨와다나 깨와 랭게레스 디 깨와 렌치 깨와 렘베 땐 루딘 딜레 코르비 동알 가와다 시와 소뇽고 스리갈라다 딜라 텐델 주니데 체숨라 조당다오지 깨왕엄마 깨와 다다 깨와 치마스 깨왕엄마라 마리바다 두제 아니 깨와 단다딜라 남셰니 시비바돌라 게 아니 깨와 치마라 네 깨와당 아니 가시스 가와당 시와스 오테네스네 텐델추니데 체숨라 조당다오지 딘데지안 요레 송아네.
So if we now continue from where we have left off yesterday, we are now at paragraph 4.29 on page 57. In this way, the 12 aspects of interdependence will continuously evolve for as long as ignorance has not been relinquished. The past causes, ignorance and formation, make the present consciousness, that is the impelled result, appear. And the following links down to the disturbing emotions, craving and grasping, gather the karma that produces a rebirth, thus up to becoming 8 evolve. Continuing therefrom, there is the taking of birth in the realm corresponding to one's karma, and through that bodily support, one will undergo the samsaric suffering of aging, dying, and so forth. So, when there's this fundamental problem of ignorance, so if selflessness is not being realized, if the meaning of dependent origination is not being realized, and there is this ignorance of grasping to the two types of selves and so on, then grasping to the self and so on, then that is ignorance. And as long as there is in ignorance, then the following links will occur. So if there is ignorance, then there will be formation. If there's formation, there will be consciousness, and so on. So the 12 links will continuously evolve until ignorance is being eliminated. And so we will again and again engage in samsara, in the 12 links of samsaric experience. And so there will be a continuation. Here we then take ignorance and formation as the basis for later experience. So ignorance leads to karmic actions that so due to delusion we engage in karmic actions, so formations, and then that will lead to the next rebirth, the arising of the next consciousness. So when we talked about the link of consciousness, we said there is the impelling consciousness and the impelled consciousness. So the causal one and the resultant one. And here now, speaking about that which arises based on ignorance and formations, we're speaking then about the impelled consciousness that arises. And following that, then the eight links that describe the development of a human. So those take then place. That means consciousness, name and form, 6 sources, contact, sensation, craving, grasping, and also becoming. These are the 8 links that then come from having had ignorance and formation. So here we are actually talking about how we are dividing the 12 links, or how we explain the 12 links applied to 3 lifetimes. So when there's ignorance and formation in the first life, in the previous life, then the consciousness of the present life arises, and then based on that, name and form, 6 sources, contact, sensation, craving, grasping, and becoming. And that development and the karmic tendencies that are established through that and lead to the experience of suffering in the next life. So they lead then to the third life, which is described as birth, and then old age and death. So here we have the 12 links broken down into 3 lifetimes with ignorance and formations being the previous life, the 8 links from conscious to becoming being the present life, and then rebirth, old age, and death being the 2 links of the next life. And so the physical support that we establish is then the basis for the suffering that we experience.
대달 네 개와 세숨 나서발라 개와 렌당 대달 규르비 된 류된 델라양스 소jen지 semjen namla sojen지 semjen스나 되게 감게 semjen당 베나 수감게 semjen 되더라 소jen지 semjen namla 때나 베나 바르기 단지 세숨낭네 바르기 좋아 개와 엄마 많이 받체 개와 치마 많이 받체 개와 다다이 자우지 다다이 깨져 좋아 온데 남시네 스비 바르둘라디 개보데 덴델 개보디 중심 소jen지 semjen 숙매도 개와나 아니 남시디니 명식이 풍보 대강스마도 중기레스 양대고 숙매 용디 갑델라 데네 개체당 렉바 초르와 안텐소데 여서 말이 데메 용디 갑라 명시 풍배 뒤비 스비 바르도 중라스 뒤비 명시 풍배 뒤비 스비 바르도 중라스 다 풍보 rakpa 다 제 소정기 풍보도 저 말에 남시네 명시 당 안에 시바스 어디 바도 중라스 대 소정이나 소매나 다도 강도 제장 디 개와당 로케바르 규르네 가와당 아니 이제 각바르 규르와 시와되는 중대스 딘데 체네 라량 레당 게 팡네 개와 셴 렘베스 페차샤나 대달 갈메 콜로 당 갈메 콜로스나 페페라 메파네 체나 공라 이제 꼬라잡나 콜로도 통계와 디 갈메 콜로스 콜롱문에 요 말데 콜로도 오지네데 코르테게 소진 바르마체바게 통에 페차샤나 덴델 주니 바르마체바 콜로나 셴스 갈메 콜로 당스 소춘기 큐모 따라서 소와나나 추 레게 큐모 세네 제 나가모 제 촌바낭네 추 마게 오네 야이 촌바 야 강바돌라 추 레게 된데 툴제 잘라줘요 사례도디 when 코라 캬병데 갈라 송데 마올라 추 랭가도 너체데 양 야라 추 켄넬레 양 추디 두루 렌사비젤라 양 송데 말라도 양 추 켄넬레 양 야라레 추디 추렌양 텐데스는 꼬라게 출체스나 달지 잘라든데 저사래도 어딘데 소준주 교모 따라서 인 조아릭도 된조 감숨 된조라 세발라 양니 양도 코르신 되네 참바르 유로스 코랄라 참두그레스
Die Sukmekam gekapsu, die Yanke Sungrunang.
소민라 아니 소민도 개와나 된 남시네 아니 명시 소 남시 되네 아니 명시 풍보 디잠주여레스 디당 아니야 시바 생지도 와단데야 개바와지 어디 봐둘라지 중라스
얘네 민직보 숙마인바.
레제 민직보 레
라스.
민직보
Lesson. So then paragraph 4.30 reads, concerning this support for all the beings with form, the links from consciousness until becoming will occur. So the beings with form means the beings of the desire realm and the form realm. For those beings, all the links will occur, and the full spectrum of how we have explained it, of the 8 links of the present life, will occur in exactly the manner that we explained it. Name and form, leading up to then the 6 sources, context, sensation, and so on. So that describes the development in the form in the desire and form realm. Now, so it's the 8 links of the present life in this presentation of the 3 lives that we're talking about here right now. In the formless realm, though, there is no form, right? So there is no, in the link of name and form, there is no form. It's only name. It's only the 4 aggregates that are the mental aggregates, not the coarse form element, the form aggregate. And so also subsequently then for the present life's experience, only those aspects that have to do with the mind are being experienced, because there is no form, right? So everything has to be understood in line with that. It's only that which originates from name and not that from form. So the other links are also limited in or we have to see them specifically for how they emerge in the formless realm. If one is born in the formless realm, consciousness until becoming consisting of the 4 name aggregates will occur. So the links will occur from consciousness. So the name and form will occur until becoming, but only that which is related to the sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness. Those are the name and form, right? So then whenever or as whatever one has taken rebirth, there will occur the process of being born, aging, and dying. And again, having been forced by karma and disturbing emotions to take another birth, one cycles and wanders again through the existence of the 3 realms, like a swirling firebrand or the rim of a water wheel. So when this is taking place, when karma and disturbing emotions are propelled, when one takes rebirth within samsara, then one will be born, and one will age and die. And so that process is continuous and cannot be pointed out in small segments. Cannot be perceived in each individual part, but it's really a cycle that goes as a continuous cycle of experience, just like when we have an incense stick, for example, or we have a stick with fire on it, and at night we turn it around, we swirl it around, then it will appear as one continuous wheel of fire. And in the same way, we see the continuous rebirth and the continuous engagement within the 3 realms of samsara. When we talk about the 12 links, it's like this continuous experience, just like the fire wheel. Or also another example is the water wheel, which is the water wheel of a mill or of a well, where we have a wheel and it has like little shovels, and as it turns around, it always brings up some water, and then it turns around and just continuously turns and brings up water and then goes down into the water again. So just like a miller's wheel or a wheel in a well that brings up the water. The water wheel just continuously turns, and that's one smooth movement that we can perceive. So in the same way, we have to look at the way that beings under the force of karma and disturbing emotions cycle within samsara, within the three realms of samsara continuously.
대달 마릭바네 두제 남셰 라소바 균차소 중술대 질 야강니 말라 시바르체네스 데네 미세 ngo마당 미세 다다당 아네 체 치마 라소바 체 둘라 조출데라 딱체 땅 나세 ngonma kewa ngoma dang kewa tata dang kewa chima sumla zosulde ta tanje yakangla marikpa dang tuje de kewa ngoma ane namshe ne mingsu siba badula kebote kewa tata la ane dichela lhama de tene kewa chima la chungsu yakangla ji che sumla zosul shema thakpa tardu res dinde dang shenyang 덴델 데라 균차베 덴델스 단 바르마체바 중동직당 양체 체숨라 족솔스네 데 요레스 양 체니라 조야생 제 용게 요레스 말에 디 컨데르스나 체응메 네갑지 풍부디비 마릭바당사 아니 디당 냠돌라 아니 세바데 방 렘바 디니기 왕기 데네 레케 미게라소바 두제바 데다기스 데다기 팡용네 아니 깨와치마 다 깨와 ngo마데라 텐조 촉네 깨와치마라 데니 깨와 렌싱 데라 남셰네 양 림바 신도 남셰 밍셰 수케체 레바 초라 스네드니 말라 드로네 아니 시비 파르돌라 아니 깨와치마라 양 깨네데네 타마 가와단 시와 양 중용교레 센데 용두 체니게 조바양 여도스 데가라 덴델데라 체숨나 조바당 체니라 조바스네 데야 샤초게 레스모데도
So when we divide the 12 links into 3 lifetimes, then it is, as we have just seen, that's called the continuation, the uninterrupted continuation way of explaining it, or the explanation of the 3 lives, applying the 12 links to 3 lives. And it says in the text, after having understood in general this way of continual occurrence, if one examines how many lives it takes to complete one cycle of 12 links, it is taught how they are completed within the 3 lifetimes of the previous, the present, and the following life. So if you understand that as a continuous, like how one link leads to the other as a continuous way of engaging in samsara, then we speak about the presentation of 3 lifetimes of the previous, the present, and the future lifetime. So that's this continuous, uninterrupted presentation of the 12 links. And then there's also another presentation, which is that of 2 lives, how we can apply the 12 links to 2 lives. Due to the power of the ignorance, craving, and grasping comprised of the aggregates in one's former lifetime, one takes the following birth propelled by the formations of karma, since in that life consciousness until the links of becoming old age and death evolve, the 12 links are also completed within 2 lifetimes. So in this presentation, we talk about what are causes that bear a karmic effect, and then the result from that. So ignorance, craving, and grasping, as well as the karmic force of formation, they bring about the next life. So they are the previous life. So they're associated with the past life. And then the other links, the other 8 links, excluding ignorance, craving, grasping, and formation, then are the links of the present life. So from consciousness, here we speak about consciousness, name and form, the 6 sources, contact, sensation, and then becoming, rebirth, old age, and death. Those 8 are then associated with the present life.
디인도 텐들데 안에 고당보 텐들 코롱기 다 마릭바치 고축산나 아니 균 마치바코 마릭바 콜라텐네 두제당 남시 민수 계제 딘조 코롱기 다갈라그래 코롱냠 코롱다 균냠도 레베 디데 다 바르마치 발레기레스 이나양 텐들데 다네 kewa ta marikpa insona tene kewa chimala degel hakma denzo yang di kewa chimala degel hama denzo yong sigires yang kewa degi marikpa de kewa de 단단한 가지로 marikpa yedera 단단한 가랑솔라 marikpa 여 초기래 단다 marikpa 여 초기래 다 kewa marikpa la tene kewa digi kewa lenrete hinayang kewa dilayang tanda marikpa tang duje leke mege denzo yang sagyo yang tanda duru marikpa lepsona yang di marikpa digi gochukne yang marikpa duje namshe yang dini tse dila zoge tang yang yongzo yang kewa chima la zoge desine ta kandara yang chi tendil denzo kala wara chi di tendil chunyi de nyamdu kasa kala lebge yorese ina rangrang sosogi de zo de marikpa de tang denzo kawani gochukwa di kogi de gyunde da mache wachine dhogire ina yang ta di nyamdu la yang tendil shimba denzo yang ke choge yorese peshashana anzo kewa ngoma ki marikpa tang duje la tenne kewa dila anzo ta pena 단다 민시네 뒤네 따따나 가서 처와 세바 된저 여여대레데 남시에단 집어 여대다 양 가지고 단다 마리바 여러와 양 단다 마리바데 고축사나 양디 두제 된데 양 바르마셔 된데스 양 대양 디링기 마리바 참 마세바 양 디링라야 양 단지 쇼바기 마리바 고모 따든저 디 낭낭라 양 따빼 망보 예베 계셔레도 숨겨여레 인조 안단 강다라 양지 고지 축사나 양 코롱게데 bar 마치바치 독일레스 투기 말레스 양 망보지 냠도야 용 초게 레스 레다지
Whichever is the case, since there is a continual occurrence, one depend upon the other, the process is called continuous interdependence. So when we speak about interdependence or interdependent origination, then we say that it starts with ignorance, and when there's ignorance, then there's formation, and so on. And we explain that as a continuous, uninterrupted continuum of the 12 links, the continuous interdependence. But that doesn't mean that there would always be only one of them present. So when there's ignorance in the past life, then then we say that the other links occur after that as we look at them in a gradual way. But really what we have to understand that also in the present life there's also ignorance, right? So the 12 links coexist they're all present at all times. But when we single out one instance of ignorance, then we can see how it leads to the other links. So it's more of like taking a snapshot or taking one moment of ignorance and seeing how it evolves, rather than saying that in the present life, when we divide it into 3 lives, the present life would be free of ignorance. No, there is ignorance, there is formation, there is all of this going on, but when we take the previous life's ignorance and formation, then we see how it leads to the present life's links and so on. But it's really a continuation that happens all the time. So all the links are present at all the time, and we just have to think about how they function. And so also when we look at the presentation of the 2 lives, then we can see which of the links are the propelling factors that lead to the next life, and those are then ignorance, formations, craving, and grasping, and that is then when we look at them from that perspective, then they are the previous lives ones, and then the other 8 are the next lives or the present lives links. But we really have to understand that even though there are various starting points, while there are so many points where we can start with ignorance and see how that unfolds the 12 links, it's still always a continuous process that is perpetuating. So the presentations that we have seen are just showing that this is actually a continuous process there, of all of them being present, of them always perpetuating existence, the rebirths and the existence within the 3 realms. But yeah, they can happen at the same time. They're not present. So it's not definitive, like there's only ignorance and then there's formation and that, but it's really a functional process that is being described by taking different points in it, or different aspects of it, and show their relationships.
강다라 양 마릭발레 두제네 ane namshe la sopa chigi jola chig tenne 균 chaba chungwa dela ane 균 chabe tendel she chawos shinyang tendel dela chawa zogbe kechi dinang la yang tendel chunye changsul raw yores ta pena kechi ma dela yang dyuthe kechi ma jig dang chawa zogbe kechi mas ne je dyuthe kechi ma sena pena 강사 topten jege ane lakpa sekul je tokte kaptela sekul dila yang ane cha tukju renga do tende zi na di tukju renga na cha chik di mingla dyute ke chik kyuk zamjirawa bena chawa zobe ke chik sheba dine tungdung dang ringbo kanglan sha chogyora da ringbo la samlo dang na 제 ringbu la samlo tangna ta lega kyachimbo ji gochuk ni tene masoge padura de di padu de yun ti changma gi mingla chawajo be kejimas ta yun tingding la keja samlo tangna ane majo mig inde tang migchum mig tang chewa tinde gi keji tawjila yan chawa tingji jobe kejik bas tende sha yores sungare ta jidang chao zum ti kandar yang chao zo be geji tenzo la yang ne tendel chunyi da changa yores pecha sha na sok chu ba ta wo ji chawa zo be geji ma da tende ji la sam no tang na yang tikpa yo ba mi shi bi ko ne ane de sok chu ba lega de la ju ba de marik ba res 대신 도 내가 돼 고참 로바데네 되네 두제 디 젤라데네 남시 디두기 셰바 지 쇠바라 삼바다고 된데 삼로 기행데 갈 디두기 남시 데레스 아니 디두 갑델라데네 지 소르바다 두제당 두제 텐조 탐제야 민수 아니 랑라 요바당 속죄사기 율라 니자라 요바기 깨체 두고데 두 아니 디두 갑라데네 춘자 라소바기 마 님바당 라소바 된조 렉바 된들 중이는 아니 디두 갑라 랑당 셴 탐제 아니 세투 좀 삼백에 갑갑 셈 돌와 대화 용화다고 아니 8월 보델라 되네 이제 천천 눈밖에 초르바 동알아와 용화도 대도 용화 된소네 된데 중년은 초르바 되레스 델레 가와에게 셈 주바 되는 세바레스 네 델레 안에 진 레가데 게징가말레 치마 된데스네 렌 로바 되네 아니 렘바 되레스 레 제도지 풍보대 시바 대두갑라다 제 속초바 라소바 레가라 짬 대위갑 되게 레가데 시바 시바 차세 개와 치마 양결 개네 강도양 렌시바다고 차야게 주겐나 돌와 시바 차송스 텔레 다다당 치메 차 개와스 개와 ngamal에 치메 차라 게징가만이 치마라 줄와 치마니 치마라 균네 텐데스네 드로바데 되네 게징가만이 치마니도 깨와데 깨와 창송스 대 귤신 각바 가시 연라데 출 속초바 내가 라소바 탐제 아니 참 좋네 되네 내가 룹송하데네 가와 시와게 연락 출 대다 게징미 자와조베 게징미 텐델로 세티다우치네 아니 내가 뒤로 찍 돌아이나 텐델 중이 텐데스네 지에 요래도 송아래도 텐델로
Moreover, there is also the manner in which the 12 links are contained within the moment of completing an act. We generally present two different types of moments. The first type is the momentariness, is a momentary moment, which can be identified as 1/60th or 1/65th part of one finger snap. So if we snap our fingers and divide that time frame that that the sound resounds, and we divide that into 65 parts, then one of these parts would be identified as a moment. And then there's a different way of speaking of moments, and that's the moment of completing an act. And they're short ones and they're long ones. So that one doesn't have a fixed time frame. It just speaks about the completion of an act. A long moment would be of completing an act would be if we take upon ourselves a big task, a big type of work, and from the moment we set out in that task until we have actually finalized it and completed it, that entire time span would be a moment of a long moment, a moment of completing that act. And a short moment of completing an act would then be the act of, for example, just when we blink our eyes, the closing of the eyes, and then also the opening of the eyes again. Just one blinking of the eye. That's a very short moment, but it also describes one act from beginning to end. And so those are the ways that we can speak about moment of completing an act. They're both short ones and long ones. And so within a moment of completing an act, we can actually also find the 12 links, or we can define the progression of that. We can apply the 12 links to a moment of completing an act. And the way that this is described here is by illustrating the act of killing. When illustrating this with, for instance, the act of killing, to engage therein through lack of understanding is ignorance. So to engage in killing out of ignorance is then the link of ignorance. Likewise, the action is formation. So the karmic action of killing is formation. The cognition at the time is consciousness. So one's own consciousness is involved in there, the cognition of the senses and the mind consciousness, that's consciousness. The contact of the weapon piercing the body is the name and form, and of the 6 sources present at a time. So when we have a weapon and we pierce the person that we're killing, then both our own name and form and 6 sources are present, as well as the other person's. So they're also present at the time and can be identified. So that's name and form and the 6 sources. The experience of sensation of the time is the pleasure of oneself and the pain of the other. So sensation, because we're setting out to kill the other person, we are happy about what we're doing. That's pleasure, or the other being, and the other being is experience the pain of being killed, of being stabbed. So that's sensation that is included within that act of killing. There's enthusiastic engagement and craving, and from that comes the grasping to the following part. Lamala, de la sepa dans sepa que j'ai candidat.
De la kawe jukjin sepa. Sepa.
Sepa.
Sepa. Sok choba la sem kashin jukjin sepa.
So when one engages in that act of killing with enthusiasm, happily, then this is the craving that describes craving, and following that also the grasping to that comes from that craving. And then the aggregates at the time of committing the act is becoming. So the 5 aggregates present of the being that is being killed and ourselves, those are the act of becoming, resulting in the birth of the present and following part. So that is then the actual killing, the change that happens from being alive to being killed. That's the birth. This is the aspect of change that happens, the fundamental change that the killed being undergoes. And then their change and cessation are regarded as being the link of old ancient death. So the completion of that, and the completion of the dying, of the being killed, is then, and then being killed is are the links of old age. Is the link of old age and death. Thus, this is the continuous dependence of a moment of completing an act. So we can see that within the act of killing, all the 12 links are present and are accounted for as well.
균 차비 덴들 양라 준유보 대다 양 두나 두나 마릭바당스 몽비차 마릭바게 꾸네 롱게 꾸네 드니 두제 게미게 롱맛 제 게미게 라소바게 두제당 딜라테네테네 남셰 중네 디숨보테네 펜비얀라스 펜제기 양라데 마리발테네 레케와 미게 미웨레라 소바치네 디기 박샤데 남셰기 강라샹데 칼라 남셰디기 랑기 텐들 치마 텐조 라 게제기 펜바르체베 펜제스 게와르체기 팡팡 용게로와 뉴바도 시제 용게로 온디치네 펜제기 연락스네 연락직 디 젤라양 디네 디 펜제 제발라 땐네 디네 민숙 안에 깨체 렉바 초르와 시대 팡제기 연락스 디밍라 남셰 나마 마리 두제 남셰 딘족이 펜바라 땐네 양디 치마데 끼 용게요레 디윤데갈라 데네 팡제기 연락스네 데데 추마레스 네 디체라 네 데네 기와 현당 현된조 주비에게 제도라 연락 세바당 렘바당 시바숨지 기와 치마네 치마 몬바르 주비기 연락 딘데란 샤게요스 아니 현양 아니 기와당 가시 니데 몬바르 주비 연락 조아리도 강롱라 아니 깨르 깨 무슨 깨힌데 깨와스긴지 무슨 깨와라 때네 되니 가와단 시와스긴지 요요세 대인도 갑데라 페나 디게 문제 세바다 렘바 시버숨데게 깨와치마 조 주베르 치베데 텐데 양나 주니나네 깨와치마 조 주베르 치긴데 세바 렘바 데네 시바숨스긴데 제네 팡위 제우데 데네 민수 초르와 세바 된조 인사레 데네 조 깨와 치마는 치마 연락 치마 된조 펜바르 제겐데 마릭 두제 남셰소 숨 된조 인사레 된조 디라 때네 지기 명라 펜비 연락스 아니 팡제기 연락 아니 몬바르 주비 연락 아니 몬바르 주비 연락스 니도와 몬바르 주비 연락스 직데다 가능스네 깨와 치마 주비에게 치도라레 직 도와리도 랑랑소도라 강라 나민 미예 게 수부 게 차르위 된다 도시 어딘데게 연락 시 도지란 샤요 송아리도
When the 12 links of interdependence are condensed, the 3 links consisting of ignorance, formation, and consciousness are the propelling links. The 4 from name and form to sensation are the links of the propelled result. The 3 links of craving, grasping, and becoming are the fully established links, of establishing links, and the 2 of birth and old age and death are the fully established links. Thus, there are 4 subdivisions. So when we divide the 12 links of dependent origination into 4 categories, then we can speak about the propelling links, the propelled links, or the propelled result, the establishing links, and the established links. And so ignorance, formation, and consciousness are the causes which produce a body with its sensation. So they're propelling the experience within samsara, and so those are the propelling links. Then we have the result of these propelling links, which are just generally name and form, the 6 sources, contact, and sensation, they're exactly what results from ignorance, karmic actions, or formations to engage in virtue, non-virtue, or neutral activities, and also consciousness. They're really that which propels all the later links, which has the potential, this ability to propel the future links. And then what comes from them are name and form, the 6 sources, contact, and sensation. And when that is experienced, then the fully established links of craving, grasping, and becoming come into place. Those, again, are causal links in the sense that they are that which fully establishes then the next rebirth of birth, old age, and death. So they have, again, a formative, establishing kind of function. So they are that which establishes then the actual rebirth, the actual birth, old age, and death that describe the experience of existence. So in this way, we can say that there are 4 types of links: the propelling links, ignorance, formation, and consciousness; the propelled results of name and form, 6 sources, contact, and sensation; the fully established links of craving, grasping, and becoming; and the fully established links of birth, old age, and death.
Yang tendril de donta sumgi nangla yang duge yo sungare marikba tang ane seba tang lemba sumbu dene danda zo nyomongba gi kongdola yin sungare ane chi duje tang seba ni de dene leji kongdola yin sen duje mige la soba mewe le la soba dendo tangoma le sa songna de shisha chene chema kiwa lengyo ra ta le sa gyo ra duje de le ro ta nan shin ki sipa sen de tata le ta tanda pena tanje kare de sok choba ta uji la yena ya ta sipa sing je ro ba de do ko chi sok choba ta uji le ka chi sa bi chila ta kiwa chima kan ya chi len sipa ta uji le chi chung sa re on de yon de ka les duje dang sipa ni de le yins ane langma ta di chela langma dun je ro ba on den zo de dungal ba ji chorwa ta ji zo chewa korwa dungal ba nyung gi de shi dun nos de yang sumla yang sha yo sung le di sumla rimba tar nyomong be kunne nyomong ba le ji kunne nyomong ba ane kewe kunne cheam kewe kunne nyomong ba she dokte dowa nam nyomong ba che bi cheros di kabla so nyomong ba sne dungal la kwe re sungi dorwa de yundi kala de tangbo digi mingla nyomong ba kunne nyomong ba tanda pena tangbo sumbo de je nyomong yin sung so marik sepa lemba sumbo de nyomong yin sung so de nyomong ba kunne lang wala tenne ane dungal wa chungyo da res nyomong ba rimba tar nyomong be kunne lang nyomong ba tang chima niwa de le la tang yang dungal la chungyo lakma tumbo de ane kewaam kuni nyomong bas lakpar du tene dungal wa chungwas la dauji tende yang tende ki tenda mingsum rawa ta na sha yores.
They can also be divided into 3. The 3 of ignorance, craving, and grasping are disturbing emotions. The 2 of formation and becoming are karma. The remaining 7 are the 7 bases of suffering. These 3 categories are respectively called affliction of disturbing emotion, affliction of karma, and affliction of life or rebirth, because they afflict all sentient beings. Again, they are also respectively called dependency of disturbing emotion, dependency of karma, and dependency of suffering. So we can divide the 12 links also in 3 categories based on what kind of part of suffering they are, in terms of the sources of afflictive emotions and karma, and then suffering. So ignorance, craving, and grasping is referred to as the disturbing emotions. The source, they're mainly considered disturbing emotions. Then formation and becoming are based on, or that they're identified as karma, as karmic actions. And then the remaining 7 are the 7 bases of suffering, because they're mainly characterized in terms of the experience of existence, the experience of suffering that occurs, that they're connected with. So that actually refers to the actual experience of suffering within samsara, the various kinds of suffering. So in this way, we divide the 12 links into those links that relate to afflictive emotions, those links that relate to karma, and those links that relate to suffering. And then these actually receive different names because of their functions. They're called the afflictions because they inflict sentient beings with suffering. The affliction of disturbing emotions because the disturbing emotions inflict and cause suffering in sentient beings. The affliction of karma because these karmic actions are actually what disturbs or which afflicts sentient beings with suffering. And then the affliction of life and birth is the actual experience of that suffering. So they all afflict sentient beings. And so we can also call them the 3 types of affliction. Yeah. 그냥 이 직접 참아 송송해. 젠 타마디 송송해.
녀몽바 셰 도데 조반남 녀몽바를 제비치로
디바도 송송.
나서
De tamala de karelami karesomi. De seam kiebekun ne nyomba.
군의 녀몽바셰 체암 기베 동알기 동알 와르체와스 상마 동알 와라와 동알 와라양 동알기 동알 와르체와 체함 기베 군의 녀 치마되게 명대라 깨비 꾸네뇨 학바르도 안에 학바르도 동알 강라 양결 동알 제와스라 저제 깨비 꾸네 녀몽바스 라기레스 안에 학마 듬보데 깨와라 때네 학바르도 안에 이제 동알와 중화래 라는 농신기 rimba tarar 지 녀몽비 시왕당 세 단다 마릭 세네 숨숨보데라 녀몽비 시왕 세네 데 라고 양 다나 신기 두제단 시바니데 레게 시왕 냐네 타마 된조라 동알게 시왕 센데 양 라고 시 녀몽바 숨레 니 녀몽바 숨레 숨레 레니 중라 녀몽바 숨레 아니 두제 시바 레니보데 중레스 텐솔라 때네 텔레 동알기 아니 시 상마 듬보데 중심스 듬보데레 라량 뇨몽바당스 뇽 듬보데레 라량 스디칼라 네 텐들 치마 텐들레 라량 테니 일단 텐들 타마데 가시 소파레베스나 소파 마레스 라량 양 마릭 두제 라 소파딘 고게레스 뇨몽바당 양 레남 중데 대다르 균기 콜로스 균기 콜로 나신진이 콜로스 연라 준이기 낭네 안에 연라 준이기 낭네 나제 레당 레니보 대당 두제당 시반이네 레인스라라 아니 뇨몽 마리 두제 마리 시바 렘바 숨보데 아니 뇨몽바이나라 디가보 대당 남셰 남네 연라 셴남 참제 수 두바르 제와기 유도지라 차대요세 마릭바당 베나 두제 시바니 레 덴조당 시바당 남시 덴조 탐제기 안에 덴데신 탐제 두바르 제바오스 아니 세바당 렘바니데 니데 세바당 두제당 시바니데 레이노사 덴데산 류투기레스 샤바레 양베 신발라 삼로당네 샤나 남셰데 안에 베나 사벤타우 인스 레데 싱사다우 사시 사다우 인스 세바데 추다우 인스 렌 마리바데 데브제게 류다우 데스 베 덴졸라 샤네양 덴데 차데여스 송마레도 데시 시비 게네 남수 민수기 뉴구 두바르체게 레치기도스 두바르체도
So again, they are also respectively called dependency of disturbing emotion, dependency of karma, and dependency of suffering, because we can summarize them into these three categories. So the three links that are afflictive emotions, they cause the two types of karma, the two links that are identified as karma, and those two links that that are identified as karma, they then lead to the other seven that are suffering. So in that way, because they are grouped in this way in causal relationships to each other, we call them also the dependencies, the three types of dependencies. So from the three disturbing emotions come the two karmas, and from these arise the seven bases of suffering. From these seven again arise the disturbing emotions and karmas, thus one continuously circles around within samsara. So actually just a note here, the last sentence in paragraph 4.37 should actually go to the next, should actually be already part of 438. That's one thought happening there. So we call them the dependencies because they actually constitute this continuous turning within samsara, being the causing each other. So the afflictive emotions, the three links that are afflictive emotions, make one engage in karmic actions that leads to the experience of suffering of the seven other the seven other links, and then disturbing emotions arise based on those, and so on. So that's the turning within samsara, within the three realms of existence, because of the way that these are shown in interdependence. Among the 12 links, the 5 disturbing emotions and karmas and the consciousness are the causes which form all other links. Thus they can be said to be 4 links: ignorance, karma, craving, and consciousness. here both craving and grasping are defined as craving, and both formation and becoming as karma. So when we break down the links as causes and effects, then we can say that there are 6 causal links, which are the 3 disturbing emotions, and the 2 links that are karma. So that would be the 3 disturbing emotions are ignorance, craving, and grasping. Then we have the 2 that are karma, which are formation and becoming, and consciousness. Links that bring about then that bring about the others, and they can be summarized into 4 links by saying that grasping and craving are subsumed under craving, and becoming and formation are karma. So then we have ignorance, karma, craving, and consciousness, if we just summarize them a little bit more. So those would then be the 6 or the 4 causal links. So when we read here ignorance, karma, craving, and consciousness, we need to understand karma to refer to becoming and formations and becoming, and craving referring to grasping and craving. And so then we have these 4 causal links in this way, the 6 or the 4 causal links. That's how to understand it. To explain this further, understand consciousness to be like a seed, karma like a field, craving like moisture, and ignorance like planting and manure. These 4 produce the sprouts of name and form and all the birthplaces of becoming. So why do we group them into these 4 causes? Because ignorance is, like, we liken this to the example of a seed growing into a sprout. When we plant the seed and there is a field that the seed is being put into, so there's soil and the seed is put into the soil, and then there's moisture that wets all of that, and planting and manure, then that are the conditions, that are the causes that are necessary to give rise to the sprout. So the consciousness would be like the seed, karma, which is then needs to be present as the support for the consciousness to develop, and for the consciousness to develop the following links of name and form and so on. And then craving is the moisture that keeps the plant growing. So the following links will be continuously evolving. And then ignorance is the actual putting the seed into the ground, the actual planting, and then the manure that just makes it sprout really fast. So that then also accompanies all the future links from to arise. It needs to be present with those. So in that way, we can understand these 4 causes as producing the effect of the effects, the other links. So let's dedicate and make aspiration prayers.
Jambal Boy Chidara Kemba Dan Kundo Sambo De Yang De Shen De Dai Kunji Cheso Dalo Chin Kewa De Da Tamje Ram Do Ngo Endu Sum Shekbe Jalwa Tamje Ji Ngo Kang Chondo Ngamba De Dage Kebe Zawa De Kun Yang Sangpo chu chir rabdo ngo wara henji sunam diye tamje sepa nyi topne nye pe janam pamje ni Kega na che balab chupa yi si pe chole Drowa drolo wara sho kewa di kewo kun sunam yish Chozo shen sunam yishe le jungwa Tamba kunye tombara sho lo chu su drowara chinge labdo solo chu lamdo drowar chinge labdo solo lam chulwa selwara chinge labdo so chulwa yeshe so charwara chinge labdo solo chila jayung
Also, Chela Jeo.
jayung
So, as attendance question today, in how many lifetimes do we divide the 12 links? And I would just wanted to let you know, I think a couple of the paragraphs yesterday were not particularly clear. I'm sorry for that. And I posted some notes just below the video already. So please, if if it wasn't clear yesterday, I'm sorry for not being completely up to speed or up to my capacities yesterday. So today I already posted that below the video, and so any inconvenience caused yesterday by me, please forgive me. So I see most of you in a bit. For those who have Friday's review class, we won't have review on Friday. If you have time now, please join us. If you don't have time now, please watch the video